distinguishing another reading with you every week, and then the benediction.
Right.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good morning. That's a lovely shirt.
Good morning. How are you? Good morning.
This is gonna bug me.
All great. It's true. Figure any crowd you go to,
Good morning. Come on, good morning. Congratulations, you made it here on a holiday weekend and it's raining. My name is, and it's cold and wet, yeah, and raining, yeah, all those things. My name is Stearns Matthews, my pronouns are he, him, and I have the privilege of serving this congregation as its Director of Music Ministries, and we're so happy you're here. And I invite you to rise in body and or spirit to sing our aptly named opening song, hymn this morning, There's a River Flowin' in My Soul.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Society of Germantown. I am Margaret Thompson. If you would like us to know your pronouns, please tell us which you use. Mine are she, her. Every Sunday we celebrate the gift of life. We're honored you've joined us today. You are welcome here just as you are. No matter your gender, race, sexual orientation, class, family structure, employment status, or health and ability. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we celebrate the diversity of our beliefs. We support each other's growth and work for justice, and as we put love at the center of our lives. All are invited to participate and help us create a better world together. You are also invited to join us for lunch after the service. Today we have the joy of welcoming Reverend Charles Laughlin as our guest minister. Reverend Charles is an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister who serves as the executive director for UU Faith Action, New Jersey, a nonprofit working to bring about a more just New Jersey through legislative advocacy, education, and mobilization. He also serves as an affiliated community minister of the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Montclair, New Jersey. If you are visiting us for the first time, please find your way to the welcome table. Oh, sorry. It looks like the welcome table is not here, but it may show up by the end of the service. That is where you can, well, any of us can answer your questions. And if you need to get set up with a name tag, you can talk to me. It's important to have name tags to be able to greet one another by name. There is if you came with children, there is a children's program to get today, and the children will be dismissed after the time for all ages. There is a nursery for infants and crawlers at the back of the sanctuary, and just down the hall through this door is the wiggle room for toddlers, which is full of toys and supervised by our staff. The main way to find out about this community and what we are doing each and every week is to subscribe to our newsletter, The Communicator. You can scan the QR code in your order of service to add your name to our distribution list. Read it every week to find out how you can plug in and help out. Our announcement for today. This week's installation of our newcomer series features USG history with the archives team. Meet at 12:15 in the dining room to hear about USG's illustrious history as a site of liberal religion in Northwest Philadelphia since 1865. If you've been participating in our newcomer series on your path to membership, this is your last chance to add this course to your roster before our new member ceremony on June 7th. Next Sunday, there will be a number of events, including an opportunity to talk to our GA delegates about what's happening at this year's GA, and a listening session with the board. Read the communicator for details. And now, as we deepen into worship, I ask that you silence your cell phones, but not your children. Their sounds are welcome here.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Charles Laughlin. It is a pleasure to be with you today. My pronouns are he, they. I share this call to worship. This is sacred ground. It's adapted from Crystal Hogan. In the presence of this fire, we hear the voice of our God, of our goddess, of our holy. You are on sacred ground. In the presence of this flame, in me, in you, in us, moving, resting, gathering, we are on sacred ground. In the presence of this glow, we are compelled to take up a torch, to carry a flame, to seek a sacred ground. In the presence of this spark, we are committed to light the fire of passion, of life, of holy work, to journey towards truth on sacred ground.
I want to invite Beth Laser to come up and light our chalice today, the symbol of our shared Unitarian Universalist faith. We join with congregations around the country and the world in our ritual lighting. Please read with me the words printed in your order of service and on the screen. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. My name is Shobi Canal. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm a member of this congregation and a volunteer in our children's spiritual development program. And this is our time for all ages when we invite all our children and youth to come up to the front and listen with all of us to a story. Hi, Faye. Good morning. Hi. Got some folks coming from the back. Hey, Roman. So we'll go ahead and start the story. This is called Awe. Awe? Like these adorable kittens? So cute. Not exactly. Introducing AWE, an awesome, wondrous, empowering emotion. When chills travel down your spine and sudden tears surprise your eyes, when your heart exclaims, ooh, ah, whoa, that's when you know you've found awe. Awe can be small yet splendid. Or big. Beautiful. Open-ended. Awe can be silent. Awe can be loud. Awe feels awesome when shared with a crowd. Awe can be deep and dark and frightful. And cool. Yet awe brings hope and joy. Delightful. Sometimes awe can scrape the city. Toy brick city, supersized. Awe can be mystical, lyrical, spiritual, a miracle. Awe surrounds us everywhere, in people who care, in the love we share. Feel the awe in every good deed. Rise up to help a friend in need. Awe wakes you, shakes you, calls you to create. In unity, community. so much to celebrate. Today and every day, let's welcome awe. Welcome those chills traveling down your spine. Welcome those sudden tears in your eyes. When your heart exclaims, ooh, ah, whoa, that's when you know you've found awe. In your backyard, or as far as the stars, may you find awe wherever you are. The end. Kittens. So now we will sing our children out to their classes. Today we have Children's Chapel. All our children of all ages will be together. Thank you. Go now in peace, go now in peace.
I don't think of any place is intrinsically holy. I believe it is what we do there and the memories we make that gives it meaning. Last Tuesday, the Edna Jones Assembly Room was a polling place. We provide our neighbors a place to vote and to help build our representative democracy. And last Tuesday, I served as a poll worker at the Church of St. Martin in the Field in Chestnut Hill. Do you remember how hot it was? Unlike the Edna Jones room, that room had no air conditioning. Picture a room much like our assembly room, buzzing with fans and still sweltering. All day, our team greeted voters, got them quickly to the voting booths, and helped anyone who was registered elsewhere to find where they needed to go. We took turns visiting the only air-conditioned room we were told we could use, but always kept someone available to support voters. The air-conditioned room was lovely. Artwork on the walls and a variety of books, both religious and secular. But when I was alone there, I kept feeling pulled back to the overheated room, bustling with hope and goodwill. Even though my sweat started to make my skin sting, the camaraderie and shared service were irresistible. I got to know a fellow poll worker who had recently started attending USG. She shared that she liked our coming-of-age service. At 8 o'clock, with fans still running and windows open to the cooling night air, we closed the polls, secured the votes, and packed up the equipment together. As we left, the judge of elections asked if we would like to come back in November. Everyone said yes. Now, when I drive around Chestnut Hill, go past St. Martin in the Field, I feel blessed by my experiences there and the joy of serving. I hope the poll workers and voters who came to USG feel equally blessed. Each week, we split our offering with an organization doing service work in the community that reflects our UU values. Our Share the Plate recipient this week is the Philadelphia Gay Men's Chorus. The 180-member chorus promotes diversity, equity, inclusion, and LGBTQ plus awareness through exceptional music performance while fostering support, advocacy, and acceptance in the greater Philadelphia area and beyond. PGMC is celebrating the end of their 44th season this coming weekend with concerts in Old City. This nomination was made by Stearns Matthews. Directions for giving via text can be found in your order of service. Cash and checks can be dropped in the plates as ushers pass by.
When I was a boy, each week, on Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two, and Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still, but now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips. Now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. It used to be a world half there, it's heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Read a questioning child's face and say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come and say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush, singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. Remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air. Everything is holy now.
tell you, Stearns, I have missed being in a room with your voice. Will you join me now in a spirit of prayer or meditation or reflection, however your heart calls you in this moment? Spirit of earth, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, the mysterious answer to the ultimate question, the Spirit of something rather than nothing. We are common travelers on a celestial body that we each call home. And collectively, we are but a tiny dot in a universe vast beyond our comprehension. Our very existence is a miracle beyond imagining. And yet, we have the capacity to do just that, to imagine. So friends, what will we imagine together? How will we define what is possible? How will we choose to make meaning? And where do we even begin? Perhaps in the sacred stillness of this moment, living fully into the immediacy of the now, present as our fullest selves, deeply rooted in the ground of being, and somehow aware of the threads connecting us in an interdependent web of existence. So we listen deeply and expectantly that we might hear the voice of Spirit. And Spirit faithfully responds. Can you hear that gentle whisper carried on the wind? Can you make out what it is saying? Return again. Return again. Return to the home of your soul. Ah, the home of our soul. How lovely that sounds. But is it really possible? And if so, how? But Spirit keeps calling. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. But dare we heed the Spirit's call? Dare we return yet once again? Dare we hope yet one more time? Dare we? The Spirit answers, born and reborn again. And we say, may it be so.
I invite you to remain seated and join in singing our hymn number 1011, Return Again. This is one of those cool parts ones where we get to sing all together and sing different parts. And Charles doesn't know, but he's going to lead this side of you. And I'll lead this side of you. First, we'll sing the whole thing a couple times all the way through. This is one of those where we sing each section 2 times, always, no matter what happens. You'll catch on. Return again. Return again, return to the home of your soul. Back to the top. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Second part. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are born. and reborn again. Return to who you are. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn again. You sound absolutely beautiful. This side's going to start with Charles. You'll sing the first 2 lines 2 times, then you'll sing the second line 2 lines 2 times. We'll come in when I tell you. Ready? Go for it.
Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the home of your soul.
Return again.
Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are.
Your soul.
Born and reborn again. Return to who you are. Return to what you are.
Return to the
where you
home
are.
of your soul.
Born and reborn again. Return again. Return again. Return to the home of your soul.
And reborn again.
Return again. Return
to what you
again.
are.
Return to the
where you
home of your
born and reborn again. Everybody return again. Return again. Return again. Return to the home of your soul. One last time.
Return again. Return again.
Return to the home of your soul. You sound excellent. Thank you.
Our first reading is an excerpt from the BBC article, The 1968 Photo That Changed the World, by Isabel Gerritsen. On Christmas Eve, 1968, the crew of Apollo 8 captured a spectacular sight as they orbited the moon, the illuminated Earth appearing above the barren lunar horizon. The NASA astronauts were awestruck by what they saw. Oh my God, look at that picture there. There's an Earth coming up. Wow, is that pretty? Bill Anders shouted at a fellow astronaut, Jim Lovell. You got a color film, Jim? Hand me a roll of color, quick, would you? That's a beautiful shot, said Lovell, as Anders clicked the shutter and captured what has become one of the world's most famous photographs. The image was called Earthrise. It was the first color photograph of Earth taken from space and quickly circulated around the world. The photo is widely credited with propelling the global environmental movement and leading to the creation of Earth Day, an annual event promoting environmental activism and awareness in 1970. Our second reading is from the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verses 1 through 5, New Revised Standard Version, updated edition. Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. He led his flock beyond the wilderness and came to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. There, the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of a bush. He looked, and the bush was blazing, yet it was not consumed. Then Moses said, I must turn aside and look at this great sight and see why the bush is not burned up. When the Lord saw that he had turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, Here I am. Then he said, Come no closer. Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground.
So one of my guilty pleasures is superhero movies. And one of my favorite tropes of that genre is the hero's origin story. Among the best of those stories are the ones that include a dramatic, inciting incident. You know, a pivotal moment in the journey where there's some sort of encounter occurs that transforms the arc of the character. The specific characteristics vary from story to story. Sometimes they include elements that could be tragic, sometimes comedic. Perhaps it's the resolution of a long quest, or perhaps it's something completely unexpected out of nowhere. Sometimes it's the consequence of a deliberate choice or a product of random chance, but almost always this inciting incident leads to an experience for the hero, after which the hero can never be the same again. It's a stunning metamorphosis. It informs everything that has led up to that moment in the hero's life, and it informs everything that will follow. It is, in the most compelling of cases, a deeper insight into that character's core values and motivations. Clinical psychologist Dr. Robin S. Rosenberg wrote a book, Superhero Origins: What Makes Superheroes Tick and Why We Care. Who knew that such great books were written? Dr. Robin Rosenberg says this: origin stories are often tales about transformation, stories in which a pivotal event or set of events sets us on a particular path in life. Now, pivotal events can be positive, joyous, hard-won, or lucky, such as meeting the right person, landing a job that creates new meaning and challenges in life, winning the lottery. Other pivotal events may not be so positive, at least not initially. Family strife, loss of a friend or a family member, significant illness, financial stress, or even being victimized. Regardless of whether a pivotal event is positive or negative, these events are often transformative. Now, you don't have to be a fan of superhero origin stories, but when you think about your own life, I invite you to ponder, has there been a pivotal event, or maybe a set of events that have transformed your life, that have been the origin story of who you are? If you were to imagine your life as a timeline or a movie, what would be those experiences that mark the truly significant moments of transformation? Transformation. You know, that's one of our shared values of Unitarian Universalism. Along with the others, interdependence, pluralism, justice, generosity, equity. Most importantly, all of those things always centered in love. In our living tradition, we value transformation because we say we seek to adapt to a changing world, and we deeply feel that, do we not? That the world around us is changing in ways perhaps that we're not so comfortable with. A world that needs transformation. A world that needs our intentional adaptability. Of course, that's not a new story. It may be new to us, but it's really not new. It's a tale, as they say, as old as time. I mean, consider for just a moment Moses. You remember Moses, right? You know, he's that guy who goes to the top of the mountain and he comes down with those heavy tablets, those 10 commandments. This is that same Moses who leads the Hebrew people out of oppression and slavery of the Egyptian Pharaoh. You know, that Moses of the "let my people go" and the 10 plagues saga. This is that Moses that is considered one of the most important prophets in the 3 Abrahamic traditions. You might say he's kind of like a superhero. And talk about an origin story. As a baby, he's hidden in a basket because all the Hebrew children would be killed, at least the Hebrew males. And he's set adrift in a little basket on the Nile River, only to be discovered by Pharaoh's daughter and raised in Pharaoh's house. He lives a life of privilege, of luxury, but then as he's emerging as a young adult, he comes across an Egyptian taskmaster brutally beating a Hebrew, and he loses his cool, he loses his temper, he goes off the hinge, and he kills the taskmaster. And suddenly his life of privilege is shattered. He's got to be on the run. He's got to get out of town. He's going to lose it all. Yeah, that Moses had a lot of pivotal events in his saga, his story. But none of those were the truly transformative ones. No, the truly transformative one comes later. Out in the wilderness, when he's on the lam, hiding, watching sheep on the mountainside, a far cry from growing up in Pharaoh's house. But Moses is apparently content with this new and simple life. At least he gets to live. I mean, that's how it happens sometimes. Life is going smoothly, all things considered. Sure, maybe things could be better, but they certainly could be worse. God knows that's true. And after all that he's been through, the plan was maybe just to live out the rest of his life in peace and quiet. Sounds pretty darn good, doesn't it? But then it happens. Something catches his attention. It's light out of the corner of his eye. He looks over there and he sees that there's a tree that has caught fire. Now, honestly, that's not a big deal. It is the desert. It's not that uncommon. I mean, in the desert, fires happen from time to time. It's really just a thing. Except this one is different. It's not like all the other burning bushes he's seen. You know, those ones that crop up from time to time. This one really is different because this bush is on fire, but it doesn't look like it's actually being burned up. That's odd. Something's going on here. Apparently, this fire isn't just going to go away. So what does Moses do? Faced with a choice, he decides to give his full attention. Hear that? He decides to give what he sees his full attention. He turns aside from what he was doing, turns aside from where he was going, turns aside from the plan to see what is truly before him. And according to the text, when that happens, God sees that Moses chose to pay attention. God sees Moses focus his attention, and then God decides it's time to respond. And look, I don't care if you call it God or goddess or spirit or the great mystery, or maybe if physics is your jam, you can think of it as the quantum observer effect, where particles behave differently when measured, which alters their behavior, because when something is being observed, it changes. Whatever word you want to use, the something sees Moses' attention and responds. And for Moses, boy, is this one going to be big. Truly transformative. He hears a voice, or at least he thinks he hears a voice, or he imagines hearing a voice. Whatever the case is, there's a voice that enters his mind, and the voice has something to say. It says, "Come no closer, and take off the sandals, because you are standing on holy ground." Holy? Merriam-Webster Dictionary says holy is derived from an Old English word, heilig, or hail, which means whole, as in W-H-O-L-E. Whole. Holy is whole, complete, perfect, not missing anything, sacred, set apart, special. Well, maybe there is no single word in any language that can completely describe it. But from Moses' perspective, whatever he's seeing, it's been transformed. And he doesn't know it yet. But from this point forward, Moses' life will never, ever, ever be the same again. Because this moment comes with a call to action. Maybe it's a commission, maybe it's a command, maybe it's an intuition or a feeling or an obsession or an inspiration or an obligation or something else entirely. You fill in the blank. But whatever it is, he feels it. And at first, like so many of us, he decides he's going to resist it. Nope, not for me. He's reluctant. He's got a whole list of alphabetized reasons why he's not the one for this task. Ain't got time, too many other things going on. Nope, not my jam, not going to do it. Yet, despite all the objections, we know what's going to happen, because when he leaves this place, his entire world will have been turned upside down. It ain't ever going to be the same again. Because, why? Because he has been transformed. Because his now bare feet are finally registering the truth. He's on holy ground. He looked into the persistent fire of a flame that would not be consumed. That's a moment of transformation indeed. Of course, not all transformations are so dramatic, so sensational. In fact, I imagine that for most of us, the transformations that occur without a whole lot of spectacle at all. But that doesn't make them any less significant. What makes adaptation transformative is not the spectacle, but it's our attention. What makes it transformative is not the spectacle, but it is our attention, our intention, our openness in the moment to perceive the holy, the mystery, that which we hold sacred. You see, the ground wasn't really any different, but Moses finally understood the ground differently. The burning bush moments in our lives are those pivotal life events that are not only transformative, but imbued with attentive awareness of the sacred. They are important because we are paying attention when they happen. Our individual stories can only be fully understood, like those superhero origins, within the context of the burning bush moments. If you don't have the burning bush moment, you don't get the superhero. But friends, let's always remember that in addition to the arc of our individual stories, our individual lives, our own superhero narratives, we are in a cinematic universe of a sort. We are participants in a collective narrative. It's not just the story of me, it's the story of we. It is our collective transformative moment. Is that possible? Well, consider the example. As you heard today, the Earthrise photo. Back in Christmas Eve, 1968, the crew of Apollo 8, orbiting the moon of all places, the astronauts were going about their business, their pre-assigned business, that every second detailed business of what was going to happen, and suddenly they're caught off guard because they see something they didn't expect. And they decide to give it their attention. There it is, the Earth rising above the surface of the moon. Wow. So they quickly move into action. They decide they're going to take a photo. And friends, this is not an iPhone photo. An iPhone doesn't exist. This is one of those old school photos with film. Whatever picture they take, they don't get immediate feedback as to whether it comes out at all. That camera has to come all the way back to Earth. That film has to be developed. That picture has to be printed. But they paid attention. They took the photo, and all those other things happened, and that image has become iconic. Earthrise. It has had such a profound effect. The photo was released 2 days after splashdown, but it was not seen in color until the weekly magazines printed the image some weeks later. 18 months after the Apollo 8 astronauts shot Earthrise, 20 million people took to the streets across the U.S. to protest environmental destruction on the first ever Earth Day back in April 22nd, 1970. The Earth Day posters all featured the Earthrise photo. The publication of that photo was nothing short of an international burning bush moment. It was part of our shared story, our common narrative, the story of us. Here's a little bit more about the history of that first Earth Day. Now remember, that first Earth Day is in 1970. Back in 1962, Rachel Carson published a book, Silent Spring. Silent Spring sold more than 500,000 copies in 24 countries, and it raised public awareness of the impact of pollution on the environment. and public health concerns. Then, in 1969, there was a massive oil spill in California, and Democratic Senator Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin announced the idea for a teach-in across the country. And he persuaded his Republican colleague, Representative Pete McCloskey of California, to serve as the co-chair. They then recruited Dennis Hayes, a young activist, to organize these college campus teach-ins. Hayes changed the name of the event to Earth Day, and 20 million Americans, that was 10% of the total population of the United States at the time, took to the streets to demonstrate against the impacts of industrial development. Groups that had been advocating individually came together and united for the first ever Earth Day around a shared common value. Earth Day 1970 enlisted support from Republicans and Democrats. It listed support from the rich and the poor. It listed support from urban dwellers and rural farmers, from business moguls and labor leaders. The first Earth Day led to the creation of the United States Environmental Protection Agency under a Republican administration, and the passage of many environmental laws. Only 2 years later, Congress would pass the Clean Water Act. Today, more than 1 billion people in over 193 countries participate in Earth Day activities annually. That makes it one of the largest secular civic events in the world. And this origin story of Earth Day, it spans, as you see, several decades, numerous movements. I've only listed a few of them here, and the involvement of many, many people and organizations who help make it all possible. It's a vast saga, but friends, it required a pivotal event to become a transformative movement, to get ignited into our collective unconscious. It required that Earthrise photo. That photo became one of the first images to be shared massively around the entire world. Nature photographer Galen Rowell described it as the most influential environmental photograph ever taken. So from my perspective, that Earthrise photo is nothing short of a burning bush moment. Burning bush that somehow we all experienced, even if we weren't alive at the time. Because we've seen it since. And we've been impacted by it since because it's impacted all of our stories. The photo has been seen by millions of people across the globe. Millions of people who, like Moses in that biblical narrative, stopped and gave it their full attention. Captivated by what they saw. And it fostered a completely new paradigm shift because they saw things differently. It's not that the earth was any different because of the photo, but suddenly because of the photo, they could never see the earth in the same way again. They saw the truth. This is our common home. We are all travelers on spaceship Earth. And in that moment, perhaps many for the first time viscerally understood the precarious fragility of the damage that we're doing to our own world. For a moment, at least, that recognition superseded all those arbitrary divisions that we use, the things that separate us politically, religiously, culturally. And then what followed necessarily and inevitably was a dawning awareness Essentially, it was as if we all somehow heard a voice that said, "Stop what you're doing. Stop it. And take off your sandals. Because everywhere you are standing is holy ground." Like Moses, with sacred recognition came an awareness of a sacred call to action to those who listen, to those who listen, to those who pay attention. A call to serve, to protect, to defend. A collective burning bush moment. Well, it didn't all end great, though, did it? Because in the intervening years, it seems that the hope born in the burning bush still remains unfulfilled. Those who profit from industries that threaten the earth are stronger than ever, it seems. Governments fight for their own self-interests, forgetting the lessons of mutuality offered by the Earthrise photo. And now there are purveyors of misinformation and disinformation, and they are plying their crafts with their entire existence invested in the fossil fuel industry. They have to make us doubt the validity of the claims that we know are true. Despite that burning bush moment, the threat to the planet is far greater than it was in 1968. And yet there still may be some hope. That 1968 photo that changed the world shows that it is possible to capture our collective attention. It is possible on a global scale to globally transform how we think about ourselves. A collective burning bush moment is possible if we can summon the attention. Just over a month ago, on April 6th, the NASA Artemis II crew traveled to the moon. And they took a new photo of the Earth above the lunar surface. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's stunning. This one's in high resolution color. And they named it Earth-Set, the companion to Earth-Rise. Now, friends, it remains to be seen whether the images from Artemis II will have a comparable impact on global environmental consciousness. But it could. It could be another burning bush moment. We could collectively embrace the transformation that we need. I truly hope so. Transformation, individually and collectively, is always a real possibility. In your individual lives, in your collective lives, in your religious lives, in your community lives, in your relationship. It is possible, but it requires attention. It requires us to see the burning bushes all around us. It requires us to invest in real relationship. It requires our willingness to see and to be seen. But the promise is, if we pay attention, we might know that this place on which we stand is sacred. And if all of it is sacred, then truly everything is holy now. Amen.
Please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, Holy, Holy, Holy.
I invite Beth back up to extinguish our chalice. Please join me in the words printed in your order of service and on the screen. We extinguish our chalice, but the flame remains in us. As we live into the mission of this congregation, building beloved community with compassion, service, and empowerment.
Our benediction today is adapted from Lanny Wolf. This was originally written to music, so I can't help but sing it, so you just have to bear with me. Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel its mighty power and gentle grace. I can hear the brush of spirit's wing. I see beauty on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place. Go in peace, brother.